Welcome to the Snorelord Morning Live Coffee Show talking about spot market freight. We will talk more about this right after this. Did I do that right? Huh? I don't know. Let's try it. Yeah. Good morning. Hope all is well. Yesterday was an interesting day. This whole week has been interesting. So, Ratman, I see you in here, man. Thanks for coming in, man. I know you were a very busy and successful business person, so I am privileged to have you in my chat. Thank you very much. And I'll get to the other comments here in a minute. Good morning. It is August, August 16th? One of my drivers kept switching. She wanted to load on the 14th and then the 15th. We kept switching back and forth, and so it's got my days all screwed up. So I'm going to blame her because, it's what we do in America. We play the blame game. So, but yeah, my days are all messed up. It's been this week just boom. And a lot of people are struggling. The rates have been brutal this week for most of us, not all of us, but for most of us. And I had a really good conversation with guy running a Conestoga last night, and we're all struggling here, and sometimes people just call to vent, and that's fine. I try to be a good listener, at least a good shoulder for you to punch, if needed. But I think we're all going through struggles here, and the rates and some of the shenanigans going on with brokers and carriers aren't making it any easier. And so, maybe we can show up and help each other out and, at least try to get you the right mindset or the direction, the mindset of what it takes to succeed right now. And sometimes just surviving, Ratman Roden told me one time, sometimes just surviving is a step forward. And I think that's the stage we're at right now. So, yeah, so I really don't have much to say that's super positive, other than sometimes you just got to keep swimming, keep fighting, and it's getting to the point where I have trouble with a lot of it because there are so many basics that are being ignored by business owners that this market is filtering them out, and it's tough to watch in live in real time. If you're not doing your math, if you're not trying to figure out how to be more efficient, if you're not trying to think outside of the box, this kind of market slaughters. It wipes you out. And that's what's going on right now. And of course, we all got to learn. We all got to dive our feet, and learn. And that's a good thing to do. But at the same time, can you afford the learning curve? Can you afford the school? And the school of hard knocks can be a little bit too costly. And so I try to help as many people as I can with my knowledge of the spot market. I try to help as many people as I can with the knowledge of the markets. And sometimes I get things wrong. Other times people will be like, "How did you know that?" And I'm laughing because there was a conversation that Jeff and I had where something happened, and he called me and goes, "How did you know that?" I don't know. Just being an observer of people. And, I still know what it's like to make a truck payment. I still remember what it's like. I don't make a truck payment now. And I know the struggle of buying fuel. I know I watched a driver yesterday get down to like 2% fuel. And I've mentioned that many, many times. Don't let your tanks get below 15%. That's hard on the injectors. There are people that will tell me this load's not paying enough, this load's not paying enough, this load's not paying enough. And I'm like, okay, well, how much is enough? What do you need per day? Well, I want 1,000 a day. Well, but what do you need per day? Trust me, if it was so easy to get 1,000 a day, I mean, we'd still have an overabundance of trucks, right? What do you need per day? Knowing that number is important. It's funny. And Ratman, if you're still in here, you probably can relate to this. I watched that show, Restaurant Impossible, and look, restaurants are hard. That's a hard profit margin. That's a hard-earned profit margin if you can get one. And it never fails. The guy goes in there to interview the owners. I'm like, okay, let's see what you're screwing up. And they know what they're screwing up. They know that they should keep better books, but they're not. They know that they need to squabble whatever petty differences, the chef and the owner have. They know that that's like they know the problems when this guy comes in. It's not like the guy comes in and suddenly the owner's like, I didn't know that. No, they know what they're screwing up, right? They know the basics on the, maybe management and menu styles, can be different. So he helps kind of, let's change the deck, or let's change your menu style. Let's give you a little bit of technology with the POS and let's play therapy so you can get over your pride, and let's do this. And in every single show that most episodes are 1 and 2 years, I'll actually check during the show on Google Maps to see if that place still exists. And 50% of the time they don't. They never. I don't think you can solve a lot of these people's problems in 3 days that he's there, but but at least if it can plant the right seeds, and that's what I try to do. I plant the right seeds. I try to. And most of the time, if these seeds aren't fruitful, it's because they haven't been watered. It's a simple fact of life. I struggle with that myself. It's human nature. And so when a driver tells me that they're struggling with this or struggling, I get it, because I've had the same struggles. So it's not like I'm some executive that's never done a hard day's work trying to tell you what to do, the blue collar. I'm not that guy. I used to judge YouTubers that were like that. How dare you tell me about my business when you don't even know how to drive a truck, right? Well, guess what? Their strength is the business, not the driving. I've got the driving part down, so let's get the business part down. So maybe this person has a word or two that I need to listen to. So, anyways, judging is dumb anyways. Judgment is only for one. All right, so good morning. My name is Nobody. How's it going? David Edwards, good morning, kids. Don Schonger, hello. Sterling, oi. Desert Okie Pam, good morning. Randy Curry, morning from Wildwood, Florida. Randy's had a hard week as well, a hard couple of weeks, to be honest. But he's doing all right. Buck Brown, welcome to Monday Part 5. Good morning from Oregon. Ratman, good morning. Why have appointments if you're just going to let deliveries come in whenever they want? What's interesting is I had a driver that had a very rough day yesterday because the broker told us it was an open window. And so she got there bright and early at the beginning of the window, which is what I teach the drivers. And they said, oh, your appointment's at noon. And it really kind of threw the whole load into a loop there because it was a Walmart delivery. Now, what's interesting is I know the shipper. It was in Joplin. And I've been in and out of the shipper, never had an issue with there. And now I didn't remember if there were appointment times. I think it depends on the product because it's one of those warehouses that has several shippers in it, I believe. And so maybe that was the difference. But had she known with the proper information from the broker, then she wouldn't have started her clock so early, and it wouldn't have been the press per time. And so it's interesting to learn. One of the hardest things to learn, I don't care if you're a company or owner or lease, is learning which shippers where the appointment time is just a formality so they don't overbook the day, and which are actual sharp. You better do it now. Don't be too early. Don't be too late, or you're screwed. It's trying to figure out those shippers. Like there's McCormick and Springfield. They're pretty decent about loading you early. And don't get there between 11 and 12 because you ain't going to see anybody because they're on lunch. That kind of thing. There's a shipper that I used to go to all the time at Schneider up in St. Louis where I was picking up the empty bottles for oil going to Glendale, West Virginia. That was I love that run. Nice and light, perfect parking spots, the whole 9 yards. And that place was like, you're fine. You show up late, show up early, they were fine with it. And you could spend the night there. So, I mean, that's part of the learning curve. And, so why have appointments if you're just going to let deliverers come in whenever they want? It's crazy. And then there's some carriers don't have, like, okay, for example, when I was doing the Joplin to Rogers gig, DART was allowed to come in and get first precedence of any door, regardless of the appointment time, because that was what they negotiated in the contract. Us peasants that were running from the spot market from the broker, there was one time I literally had to move my truck out of the way for a DART truck. They got my door. And even though I was there on my appointment time, DART was like, I'm the king in here. So therefore, I get first precedence. And, and it kind of sucks, especially when you're under pressure and you're getting underpaid and and the product sucks. So, Buck Brown saying hi to Ratman. DIY Semi is in the house. Good morning. Congrats on completing the 40-day challenge. Thank you, Cheap Freight Hauler. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, on the Snorelord OG channel, just type in Snorelord OG on the search. You'll see I completed a 40-day carnivore challenge. It was more of a video challenge because I had to do a video every day. I think I only missed one day on the video. And 99% clean. So I'm pretty happy about that. The last video I did, the 40-day video, is actually my favorite out of all of them that I made. Struggling is reality. Reality is an illusion. Well, now you're going to get us all deep thinking Doctor Who stuff. SST says, congrats on the 40-day. Thank you. DIY Semi, I did something similar called the 40 Double D Challenge. Well, I don't know if I want to hear about that. Chief Ray Aller might, but I don't. I think I used to think time and distance were an illusion. Then ELDs came out, right? Truth. If it can be weighed, measured, or counted, do it. Yep. Sounds like that could really screw up the loader. And it did, right? It did. Talking about the dart stuff, and look, I always got nervous. Like, there's a dog food plant somewhere in Iowa that I used to pick up at as a company driver. And I started to notice a pattern, right? I started to notice a pattern of, if I go to a shipper and there's 90% dropped trailer loading going on, and there's only like maybe 1 or 2 live loads a day, I knew that more than likely it was going to take forever for them to load. And it never failed. Every single time I get to the shipper, I look around, there's 3,000 JB Hunt trailers. I look to the other side, there's 3,000 Schneider trailers. And then you look in the front, and there's 3,000 Swift trailers, and here I am, little old me, with that green light blinking. And then 2 hours later, the red. And I'm sitting there jonesing for Popeye's chicken, going, I need to go. So it's then 6 hours later, we're loaded. There's one time I was picking up in Bolingbrook. I was so mad because I delivered, they unloaded me, and then I literally had to go around the building to load. It was nice, no deadhead, right? I get there, hour after hour after hour, and so finally I go to the back of the trailer, and I notice the plate's been lifted up. I didn't know it. So I go in the office. I'm like, hey, are you guys done with me yet? They're like, well, I told so-and-so to come get you. You've been loaded for 3 hours. That is one thing I don't miss about driving, is the colossal lack of respect for my time. Drivers do not get respect for the time that they spend at the docks. Anyways, there you go. Yep, sounds like KC and Beach Island. Thousands of drop trailers and live loads always take at least 4 hours, right? And the reason being is because they're used to, there's no flesh on that trailer. So, they're used to like, oh, we can just load this at our leisure, Put a pallet in, take a smoke break, put 2 pallets in, get on your phone and check Facebook. One time I was picking up paper, went up to the forklift guy who was sitting there, watching Instagram or something. I'm like, hey, where do I check in at? He just kind of looked at me like I interrupted him. Not my problem. That's literally what he said. Oh, man. Sometimes it takes the patience of a saint to do the job that truck drivers have to do. Anyways, let's take a look at some markets. I really don't have any words of wisdom other than do your math and buckle up, because the ride is here. And strap in, hold on tight, because things are rough right now, and they're going to get rougher, if not the same. So it's up to you. This is the discomfort that you need to grow. Discomfort allows you to grow. And guess what? It's time to get uncomfortable because that's where we're at. Get out of your own way. Listen to the people that are trying to help you. And use the tools that are at your disposal, such as the 123 load board. Let's take a look at Van. Chief Freight Hauler says, I miss the good old days. I miss the days of good rates. I was more willing to pull off a dock if they were taking too long to load, right? You weren't trapped. I remember one of the first loads I took my son with me on. We were picking up at Conyers, Georgia at the paper mill. Never been in there before. It's one of those places that allowed you to check in with the CB, which, you hardly see those anymore. Went in there and like, yeah, this is da-da-da-da-da, and they're like, okay. And one of the other drivers said, prepare to wait. And so I started hearing all these stories about these trucks that have been sitting in that staging area for like 6, 8, 10 hours. And then after 4 hours, this one owner operator that came in after me, he was like, you know what, guys? F this, I'm out. I own the truck, so I can get out of here. See ya. And I thought, man, that would be so great. I can't do that. And that might be why my son doesn't really want to become a truck driver, because the first couple of loads we had to wait a lot. We were delivering at one point at Bass Pro DC there in Macon, Georgia, and they were rude to him. They wouldn't let him use the bathroom. I had to bobtail up to McDonald's, let him use the bathroom, and I mean and then he almost he saw me almost get arrested up in Foxborough. Because of an altercation I had with security there, just trying to do my job. That's a good story. I'll tell that story someday. So yeah, he's like, yeah, Dad, I don't want to be a truck driver. I saw what it did to you. So the only docks I know of are the ones that have boats at them. That's a good dock, right? T-Bone, what's up? Good morning. Sterling, trucking is the lamest amusement park I've ever been to. It could be the scariest one, too. When you're sliding down a mountain with ice and you can see your trailer, you can actually pre-trip your trailer tires sitting from the seat of your truck. All right, so this is Van. California's green, Texas is green, but look, the Southeast has definitely taken a dump here. And, we've talked about it before. Oklahoma's red. Arkansas is starting to cool down. Alabama has definitely cooled down. Georgia's green here, but let's see what green means. Green necessarily, it doesn't mean higher rates. It just means a little bit easier to find a load. And, we got to check volumes and all that. So if I sort this by posted rate, see, the highest paying thing is going to Reno on overall rate, $3,200, $1.34, $1.54 to go to Idaho, $1.10 to go to California, $2.04 to go to Colorado. Now, if you're looking to only break $2 a mile, sometimes you're going to end up in Colorado, sometimes you're going to end up in Florida, sometimes you're going to end up in the Northeast. Colorado definitely has its challenges, especially Pueblo, because you still got 100 miles before you get to Denver, which is where most of the freight's coming out of. Seabrook, New Hampshire, $2.29 a mile, $2,400. Like, well, that looks good. That's the highest rate per mile I've seen so far. Picks up at noon on Monday, delivers picks up Tuesday, and then delivers Thursday. Sorry. I keep thinking the 20th is Monday, but that's not. Monday is the 19th. All right, let's look at our tolls here. $251 in tolls. Delivers at 6 a.m. in an area where there's hardly any parking. So you're going to have to pay for parking. That's another cost. Fuel is higher in the Northeast. That's another cost. So your net on this load is going to be, you're better off grabbing something different. $1.50 you go to Colorado. $1.50 to go to Colorado. When you're only getting $1.10 out, right? And then when you look at this load, you're like, oh, that it picks up today. No, it picks up Sunday. Jeez, I got my days all messed up. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. Work calls. That's how this week's been. It's. I knew I was probably going to get interrupted, and it's been a challenge for a lot of people. So we'll get through it. All right, so let's go back to showing the screen here. I see some people showed up. Jose, good morning from Loveland, Colorado. Heading to Cali next week. Hopefully everything will go all right. Well, I hope so. It probably will. Be all right. Sorry, sir, I'm nowhere near Georgia. Grab that Reno load. Scott says, morning, y'all. On my way to Denton, Texas. Pigtail, I'm late, but you're here, and that's what's important. Start over, says SST. Shannon is in the house. She was up late last night with Jeff and Dean and our best driver. Buck Brown says, howdy, sis. Everybody saying hi to Shannon. $20 is $20. All right. Anyways, we were speaking of Longmont, Colorado. Jose, is this your load? Is this what you did? Picks up at 9 a.m. on Sunday. So they're going to want to get this covered today. So you might get a little bit of leverage on this load. But see, they're at $1.50. Cargo Chiefs got this at $3,000 because you don't want to go to Colorado for less than $2 a mile. And even the lowest rate is $1.81. So they're shooting low. And you know what? People are so frustrated that they're probably going to take this. Or if the shipper is holding fast, they'll let it sit on the dock. So just keep that in mind. That's what I'm seeing. Strawberry bar. So it's probably some poisonous energy bars or something, or protein bars or whatever. Let's see. Massachusetts for 203 a mile. Let's take a look at that one. That picks up Monday. Delivers Wednesday at 9 a.m. 26 is where Cargo Chief's at. 23 on the rate check. 25 is the max. 21 is the low. They were somewhere in the middle. 40,000 pounds. Glass bottles. And let's see what the tolls are. $300 in tolls, $299.83. So $300 in tolls. So does this hit? It's only 9% above my cost per day, which is only $358. I know most people are above that per day right now, especially if you got a higher truck payment. This is what I'm talking about. If you negotiate the tolls in, then you've just increased quite a bit of profit there. $1.82 to go to Massachusetts. So this is Georgia. Now, there was a time where Georgia was hot and heavy, and it's not right now. $1.76 to go to Oklahoma City. Here's $2.53 a mile, but that's going deeper into Florida. $2.12 to go to Jersey. Let's look at that one. That doesn't pick up. Well, it says August 5th. Ah, this is interesting. Look, they got all the dates in here. This is a normal run. Package supplies on pallets, 5 loads per week, long-term project, contract base. Pick up 7 to 3, deliver 5 to 11 by appointment. Rate firm, no dispatcher services, please. Okay, so let's talk about this load, okay? Let's say that I'm like a single truck carrier. I want to cover this lane. I want to see if I can do this, okay? And I've got 5 trucks, right? I could do this, 5 loads per week. So, as you can see, what's my cost? My toll cost is going to be $172.65. Now, if I have to round trip it, we need to double that. Okay? And, sorry, it threw me off. All right, sorry. And now the rate is firm. What's the rate? $1,700. Okay, so they're wanting to do it lower than what it's going for in the spot market. Rate check's got it at $1,930. Cargo sheet's got it 2143. Green screens it's got it 2022 to 1589. Now, if we're looking at 1589, that 1700 is a good deal. But they said they're firm on this rate, right? And obviously they're trying to avoid the spot rate that's going right now, which is $269 a mile. So when you look at these toll costs, this is 4% below my cost per day. Now this is where math becomes important. Are you ready? If you're doing this consistently, it's a long-term project for, let's say it's 60 days, and you are 4%, you're running at 4% below your cost every single day for the next 60 days, how long before you go out of business? So basically what would have to happen is you would have to find a way to increase. You have to find out where you're getting more than 4% on doing something else. Now, these loads might require you to do round trip, but either way, you're going to be a lot of money in tolls. You're going to be a lot of money in fuel. And you're only going to know that if you're honest with yourself and do the math. And I get drivers all the time that like, hey, I want to get a dedicated thing. I want to get a contract deal directly with the shipper or directly with the broker. That's what this is. And depending on the rate, that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. You know, if you need like 5 loads a week, how many trucks would it take to maintain 5 loads a week to do this? Well, how can I convince however many trucks I need, whether it be 2 or 3, depending on what's the distance on this? 803 miles. So you're going to want to find a backhaul. Can you get backhauls to be able to complete the contract of 5 loads per week? Can you get the trucks or the drivers to commit to this, doing this load and backhauls? Can you know, how many drivers want to run Jersey and back all the time from, what is this? Georgia to New Jersey. Jersey City, of all places, too. And let's say you find the perfect amount of drivers. Are your trucks reliable to stay on this long term? And does the contract require you to, if you fail, then you get fined? Or if you fail, we get the right to throw it on another carrier. You see, there's so many things that comes into play when it comes to a project like this. And you're going to have to find backhauls, 803 miles. You can't round trip $1,700 for 800 miles. You can't do that. That's $1 a mile if you do that. So that 4% becomes way more of that loss if you have to round trip it. And sometimes you may not be able to find a backhaul that works in the time frame that you need, so you have to go back empty. And this broker is obviously, he's either negotiating for a big contract and wants one carrier to cover this, preferably somebody with 20 or 30 trucks that is not full of owner-operators. Because think about it, if you hire 20 company drivers and they got to do what you tell them, and you can get 5, you know, obviously, because here's the thing, this cost, does this 4% include my salary? So any bigger company that looks at this is going to be like, if they're doing the math now, obviously they have to have some lower costs, or they obviously, if they've got 20 trucks, the other 15 company trucks better be doing something that gives them a higher profit margin to balance this out. This is the complications of logistics. And so, and rate firm, which means they're not willing to negotiate. They're setting the anchor, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it. And so my first question is, why is this rate firm? And then give them some education of what it costs to run a truck. Because there's a lot of dedicated carriers that have gone out of business, because in order to keep the contract, they took a hit after hit after hit after hit to satisfy the customer. When they lose their business because of that. And that's what you're setting yourself up for here on this particular load. Miss Charles says, morning all. Sterling says, how does flatbed look leaving Reno? We can look at that. Cover wagon geezer. Good morning, Steve. Yes, I'm still here, just trucking all over country. Good deal. When's the gotta have it Christmas rate going to start shipping? It's shipping now. You just can't see it. Christmas is already canceled. CDN, good morning, Steve. I'm late. How accurate are the toll rates on 123? Pretty accurate. I've tested them. So now in the Northeast, when you're looking at weight on the tolls, this overestimates. So if you're hauling 43,000 on the turnpike in Pennsylvania versus 10,000 on the turnpike in Pennsylvania, it's going to be a different price. But this gives you the highest worst price. So what was your cost per day at a monthly rate driving 22 days? It's $358. That was my old truck. I picked up in Plant City, Florida to Loveland. I have an Aurora, Colorado to Wichita, just $2 loaded is what it comes out. Then Edgerton to Plainview, Texas for $270. Dude, that's really good. And the reason why I'm saying is I can never find Colorado to Kansas. I'm always looking for Denver or Aurora to either Wichita or Topeka or Kansas City. That's the part that saved that entire run. Got an in-string call from a shipper I already haul for. New customer needing step deck loads, 5 loads a week, thinking I'm going to rent a step. CDN, that's 5 loads a week posting. The broker is giving volume for lower rate. Steve, you're not taking into account not time lost looking for loads during this contract. This needs to be put into a spreadsheet. That's true. Yes, you're looking at steady freight, and that might be the only appeal to this. But you're still having to get spot back. Look at backhauls on that contract to see how easy or not easy to find going rate. That's a good idea. So let's look at New Jersey back to Rincon. So here's what we do. So we go to market rates. Let's do Jersey City, New Jersey to Rincon, Georgia. Is it Rincon or Rincon, or is it something dumb? All right. Let's see, get right. Now, this is the magic right here. Cargo Chief's got this at 1441. But look at the load count. There's 7 loads on 123 that go from Jersey City to Georgia. And then only 4 really going to Georgia. But we're not interested in that side because we've already got that load. So now you would want to look at this rate plus the combined rate, and then the ease of trying to find the backhaul. But I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy. So what happens if you don't have a backhaul? You got to go and get it, or else you break the contract. Now, the good thing about this is that they had the dates on there, right? So you can kind of judge how it's going to work. But the other move, now this is where this could be rescued. Now you look for let's look at this. Let's look at these loads going to Rican, Georgia. You got New Jersey to South Carolina, East Rutherford to Savannah. That one's got the least amount of deadhead miles. So let's take a look at this. So now here's the deal. So while you're looking at this, call up EPS and say, hey, how often do you have these? Flex dates, 15-foot partial, must have 96-foot clearance at the door. Oh. So these are partials. That's why they're only paying $750. That's better than nothing, right? So obviously you probably don't want this unless you can throw more together. So let's look at this Edison. Obviously, Circle Logistics has the majority of these loads. Let's take a look at this one. Edison, New Jersey to Somerville, South Carolina. So you can call Circle and say, hey, I'm working on this project to do this. Do you have something that would do this? And then you negotiate. But look, we're still 23% below my cost per day. We're still working at a loss. And yes, you're taking time into account. And, you know, as CDN. But see, most people aren't even taking half the things I've considered into consideration. But yeah, right. This needs to be put in the spreadsheet. And most people don't even have that. Most people don't even know what their numbers are. But yeah, if you can set up your operation to work for only two brokers, you know, one direction, one the other direction, then you're not stressed about low boards. You're not stressed about having to have 2 or 3 low board subscriptions. You're not stressed about showing up one day and not being able to find a load. And some people prefer to work like that. Marty says, if this is 4% less than your cost per day, wouldn't this load be your backhaul? No, backhaul means going back to the point of origin of your main money load. And obviously 4% is paying more than 23% cost, right? So 4% loss versus plus a 23% loss. Now, in order to make this work, if you don't want to use a spreadsheet, well, you do simple math. The backhaul and the front haul has to even out, right? So you would want something that's 20% above my cost per day to accept the 20% below my cost per day. Jose says he got lucky right the first time. These are just my thoughts. Look, I'm not an expert. I've been, with the help of a couple of drivers, I've been able to secure freight similar to what we just saw Georgia to New Jersey. Now, it paid a lot better than that. And it's not something that was posted on a low board for renegotiation or any kind of negotiation. Carrier fell off it one day. Someone spotted it, booked it, said, hey. The broker was like, hey, you kicked butt on this. Do you want to do more of these? And the driver was like, hell yeah. A deal was made. Boom. Now I'm getting $3 out of Denver until somebody undercut. And there was a certain point where they wanted to lower the rate so much that it wasn't sustainable anymore. But here's the thing. Even at their lowest rate, it was still better than anything coming out of Colorado. And the drivers with the correct mindset of, you know what, at least I'm not on a low board for the next 2 weeks. So that's one that they were still willing to do it. And yeah, and look, there's a lot of people in the spot market right now that cannot handle the fact that they got a call 20, 30 times a day on loads or email 20, 30 times a day of different brokers because it's kind of like throwing darts at a dartboard for a lot of people. They're not coming up with relationships. They're not coming up with strategies, but they still despise calling brokers. Well, my goal was to minimize brokers as much as possible, minimize calls as much as possible, to be able to call 1 or 2 brokers and have 4 or 5 trucks booked. I know somebody with a bigger company that does a lot of dedicated freight for a major beverage, and they have to have backhauls. And so, you know what their dispatcher did? He became friends with a big brokerage, and he's like, I've got 100 trucks at your disposal. What do you need? And they work in unison. That guy's not, can you imagine trying to load plan for 10, 20 trucks at a time, using nothing but the DAT board or 1, 2, 3 load board? How inefficient is that? And here's the secret. That's how trucking's been done for years and years and years, since the beginning. Now, let's say that rate was not firm anymore, right? Let's say this rate wasn't firm anymore, and you're able to negotiate up to where you're not taking a loss on every load. Now, according to this, you're still going to take a loss on the backhaul. But let's say that you're a schmoozer, you took the person out for dinner and you played golf with them, and you're able to negotiate a higher rate. Well, guess what? If it's about the money and not your service, guess what? Somebody comes in and undercuts you. We can do it for less. And drivers do that all the time. There are stories of brokers. You call on a load, and the broker says, no, that one's already covered. I haven't pulled off the load board yet. And then the driver goes, well, what'd they do it for? I'll do it for less. Because they're desperate. Desperation causes you to do bad things. CDN is giving us some education here. You need to have a spreadsheet and a calendar to enter loads, matching up each load to get the big picture. A few loads will be delayed, and a few times you will have to go home empty. I could plot out. Dispatcher can manage 6 to 8 trucks on spot market versus one dispatch on a contract can manage 11, 14 trucks. I agree with that. But here's the one element that nobody ever really thinks about. How many drivers can you convince to steadily go from Georgia to New Jersey on every other load that they're doing? Even if you got 20 trucks and you cycle one every one a week, how many drivers does a carrier have that's willing to go up to New Jersey that many times? Now, ideally, you want someone that lives in New Jersey, that knows the territory. And how many of those drivers, especially if they're owner-operators, how many of those drivers that are willing to go up to New Jersey, that recognize the value of doing something steady, have trucks that are reliable enough that you can keep them on it for as long as needed? Because if they're working at a loss, they're neglecting maintenance, more opportunities for the truck get to shut down. That's the part that I concentrate on. Getting contracts is probably the easiest part. And there's somebody in this chat that will agree with me. It's the drivers that make the contracts the biggest challenge. When I know brokers that have lost contracts with big companies like Ford because of bad carriers. And that's the thing that the broker needs to recognize. The broker needs to recognize, okay, this carrier that I've put on this project, will they make me lose this project? CN says, PSA, trucking in spot market or contract, someone will always do a load for less. Don't be mad, know the facts. This is true. And CN says, I disagree. Contract freight is twice as hard as spot market. No, I agree with that. I agree that contract is more difficult than spot. Because you got to maintain. You got to satisfy. Right? And a lot of people don't know how to do that. Jose says, I used to do New Jersey. I grew up in the Bronx, but I'm too old for that now, right? Basically, the bottom line is you have to find out what works for you, right? If you got a mom and pop shipper that needs one load a month going somewhere, that's easy to maintain. But you can't like put your whole business on it. Gary Cook says every carrier is bad apples, and then they also have good apples. That is true. And so carrier needs to recognize who's their bread and butter and who's not. And you see bad mindsets in both company and owner ops. And you see good mindsets in both company and owner ops. There are several people I know that are company drivers. I'm like, dude, you'd be perfect for being an owner op. They're like, I ain't making no truck payment. You know, even though they treat the truck like their own, even though they're respectful, even though they care how much the truck is profiting, even though they care about how much profit margin that they could get if they're, you know, by how efficient they are, they want nothing to do with owning a truck. And then you got people that own a truck that don't care about any of that. It's all backwards. The best thing about contract freight is knowing what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, this week, and next. Yes, I'm that guy. I want to know exactly what I'm doing every single day. Does it get boring to run the same runs? Yes. But you know what? It's less stressful. Less stress, less cortisol, eat better, boom. Now you're getting healthy. You have balance. But in order to have that, you got to know your numbers. You got to know what you can and can't do. To connect something either with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, is there a difference? Yes. Google is your friend. It will tell you the difference. Quick hit, what's up? If you play in contracts, know that you have to give up something in exchange for consistent freight versus spot market. You give up consistency to have choice to pick and choose each day. Yes, that is it. That's the line right there. People are in the spot market for the freedom. Well, freedom comes at a cost. And, you know, and you got to learn how to create consistency in an inconsistent market. One day it's $2 a mile to come out of Florida to Colorado. The next day it could be $1.80. And then next month it could be $3. How do you create the consistency? Well, you got to do it on your cost end. If your costs are consistently low and you can handle the ebb and flow and the ups and downs of the spot market, you're good to go. And then Gary brings up another good point. Dedicated runs don't last forever. That's true too. Contract equals shipper expects lower rates. Right. That's how these big carriers, they wait the rates get way up there, and then the big carriers come in and say, we'll do it for less. Boom. Now the shipper's saving money. Josh, if you can help, I need a dispatcher. We've talked about that, Josh. I am not taking outside trucks at this moment. I've got 5 or 6 like trucks. 526, I guess is a better term, that I'm helping out right now. And so, and with the Go Highway and everything else, I'm not doing outside trucks anymore. But I've tried to help you as much as I possibly can. Can y'all get the spot market rate up a little bit for October? I got to rebid a contract for next year, and I'd like for the spot market news to be upward trending. I see what you did there. If a person drives for like trucking, do they get scoreboard Snorelord dispatch in the deal? No, but you get, so that's an additional cost, but I am willing to help everybody that calls me, right? And in that, sometimes just like I've had a couple of drivers call me, just one conversation with them changes their viewpoint, and then they do all right. Then I have some trucks that use me for a month or two till they get their feet wet. They figure it out, and then they kind of know what they want to do, and then they go from there. They learn from me. So it's a constant stream back and forth. People like Shannon, she'll use me on occasion. She'll call me, help, I need help. And I help her out. And then I've got 2 or 3 full times that, I'm constantly creating strategies to what their needs are. And not, every driver's needs are different. Some drivers like to go home more often. Some drivers don't like to haul past 30,000 pounds. Some drivers will only do like a 5-state radius. And other drivers are like, send me anywhere and everywhere. And so I develop strategies for each of those personality types. Contract freight, key is to build reserve fund, as contract freight has delays and some days you won't have a load. If you didn't keep in mind your load board and too much time passed, you're not set up with brokers. That's true. So anyways, let's go back to load availability here. This is for van. When we get to flatbed, we'll look at Sterling's, Nevada. Right now, this is the sweet spot. 70 and 80. And 44. Maybe a little bit of 40. Load volume wise, the rates are still like some rates are good. The shorter stuff, like the sweet spot is 400, 500 miles. Josh, are you listening? The sweet spot is 400, 500 mile runs that are giving you the most per day. That's the sweet spot. So if you do Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Missouri, a little bit of Kentucky, Tennessee, you're flirting with the Southeast here. So Tennessee is hit and miss on the rates. And that's it. It's 600 miles to go from Springfield to Columbus. So let's look at the market rates here. Let's do Springfield to Columbus. Let's say I'm buying a truck tomorrow because I bumped my head, and we're gonna try to find something that's just Springfield to Columbus and back. All right. Anywhere from 1339 to 1716. There was a time where this paid $2,000. But for the most part, for the last several years, it's always been between 13 and 15. Sometimes I can get 18. The low end on green screens is 186 per mile. That's probably recent. Now let's reverse this. What can I make on the backhaul? Not much different. No tolls. Not much different. So guess what? Now I just found my consistent lane. As long as I stay in this lane, as long as Ohio still shows good volume, so we go to the DAT board. Let's go to dashboard here. Christmas. Let's go to Missouri. 340 in, 326 out. Missouri's taking a little bit of hit. So I'm probably going to have a little bit of trouble negotiating a rate out of here today. Let's look at Ohio. 755 in, 890 out. So I should be getting the better rate coming out of Ohio going back to Missouri. But according to this, they don't have negotiation strength info on this. But if I can get 14 there and 14 back, or 13 there and 13 back, do that twice a week, that covers my cost per day. Easy running, plenty of places to park. You got to deal with Indy's bull crap. But beyond that, this is why I ran this lane. I've been made fun of for doing this lane all the time. Well, guess what? This lane works. And then if I want to let something a little bit higher paying, I would take Ohio to Tulsa. So let's do that. Let's do Columbus to Tulsa. I go home under the load. And I get a little bit more. Maybe I get $2,000, right? Probably realistically around 1680 is what I get now. And then, or let's do Dallas. Get a load to Dallas, and then a load to Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma back to Missouri, rinse, repeat. Easy running, plenty of parking, decent money. $2,000 to go to Dallas. So now we'll do Dallas to Tulsa. $783. That's a run done in one day. It's only 256 miles. There you go, $700. There you go. I just found a decent triangle. Springfield to Columbus, Columbus to Dallas, Dallas to Oklahoma, or maybe even Southwest Missouri, Missouri back to Ohio. Just rinse, repeat. Boom. Now I got consistency. Now there's not too many fluctuations, and we're good to go. That's success right there. That is something. Hold on. I got the boss calling. All right, I'm back. All right, so lost contact with my Samsara. So anyways, that was a triangle that I figured out. Now I would do the same thing if I lived in Memphis. I would do the same thing if I lived in Nashville. I'd do the same thing if I lived in Milwaukee. And that's where having these load board tools are important. 48065 for the 123 load board. And these are the things I've learned over time by the School of Hard Knocks for the most part. Okay, hold on. CDN says, in my video drop today, I reveal number of loads I booked so far in 2024 versus 23 and how much less I have paid carriers in 24 versus 23. I reveal my reality. Excellent. So everybody go to CDN's channel and check that out. Marty says, so you're saying you need $400 more for your cost per day, 5 days a week, which is about $800 a day. So anything about gross $4,200 a week is good. Well, good is a perspective. What's good for me may not be good for you. What's good for you may not be good for me. You know, these people get on these social media platforms about how much are you grossing a year? X amount. Oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Meanwhile, the person that's asking that question is in his eyeballs up to debt because they got all the latest, greatest toys and they got a high maintenance at home. And they need more than that. Or they don't realize that being an entrepreneur means that you're going to sacrifice a little bit. Cheap Freight says, I've done fairly good this week running Georgia, Ohio, and back. There you go. That was a lane that I utilized as well. Georgia, Ohio, Ohio to Missouri, Missouri, Ohio, back to Georgia. Or Georgia to Missouri, Missouri to Ohio, Ohio to Georgia. You know, that's another lane. That's another triangle as well. So, anyways, my interruptions are only going to get worse. We'll have to get to... Well, let's look at... let's do a real quick load availability on flatbed for Sterling there. I talked to a flatbedder yesterday that is definitely struggling. A lot of red here. Nevada's included. There's only 31 outbound loads in Nevada. Sterling. 306 a mile to go to Vegas to Phoenix. 875. You can almost get that in van. Sparks to Denver, of course. You know, paying the best. Idaho, Colorado. 308 a mile to go to California. So Vegas seems to be decent. $311 to go to Albuquerque. These are all going to dead areas. Bunch of partials, 30 cents, $1.54 to go to Indiana. Let's take a look at this one. This is a full load. They're paying $1.54 a mile to go from Sparks, Nevada to Whitestown, Indiana. Flatbed, 42,000 pounds, racks and shelving. No fees for fast pay. What's the Cargo Chiefs? Cargo Chiefs got this at 38. And it's been as low as 28. There was a time where someone was moving this for $1.43 a mile. Everyone wants the pecan pie, but no one wants to shell the pecans. There you go, Scott. There you go. Let's see. There's your flatbed. Looks like Oregon's woke up. They're woke too. Oregon is green. Minnesota's green. Figuring out the triangles for flatbed is a much more difficult situation unless you're running nothing but the Southeast. But even then, that's slowed down. Interest rates, until they start coming down, builders are going to be afraid to build. They're going to be afraid to invest. It's that simple. So let's put this on reefer here. So that's going to struggle with the market there. Look at reefer, looks like a checkerboard. You got Idaho, Washington. This is produce related. Texas, of course. And then your Midwest states, and frozen foods should start be picking up here to get ready for the holidays. So, all right. Let's see. Here's the banner. Here's my plug. Make sure that you go to contentcreatorcoffee.com/Snorelord. Get a copy of my coffee. My best customer is trying to quit coffee, so her and I are going to have a little talk. But anyways, it's, you know what? If you're working this weekend, I hope you're profitable. I hope you do well. I hope you're safe. If you're off this weekend, enjoy your time. It's about balance. It's about family. It's about what your purpose is, and do the things that allow you to maximize that for your business and for yourself and for your health. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.